Defensive Player of the Year, and Tyler Singleton also for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta, going to be key figures for them in the ball game. For the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State, it's always a team approach to them. They really didn't have anybody named to the all-conference team, but the Thoroughbreds tend to play and gel as a team, and that's usually what prevails them or gets them to points of doing very well during the course of the season. Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State averaging 73 points per ball game on the regular season. On the floor, they shoot at 44%. At the three-point arc, it's 31% for the Thoroughbreds. And from the free throw line, they are right at 61%. For the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta, they average 69 points per ball game and 40% shooting from the floor. And they, from behind the arc, are a 31% shooting team. And from the free throw line, the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta right at 73%. George Lynch is the head coach of the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. He's in his second campaign with Clark-Atlanta and really starting to put his footprint on that program after the start from last year. And the Thoroughbreds coached by fourth-year head coach Jamal Jackson at Kentucky State. Both teams' early departures in the tournament from last year, each looking to go further into the tournament in the 2020 campaign here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. So set to begin action with the players already on the floor. We'll introduce the rest of the starting lineup for each team as this first half progresses. Jumping it for the Panthers, it will be Maximiliano Gamillo. And jumping for the Thoroughbreds, it'll be Jordan Little. And the tap's controlled by Kentucky State, and we are underway. For the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State, Felix Wilson, wearing number 5. Now they work it down at the block. That's Little. And back out front with the basketball is Grant Good, the senior. Once again, Wilson with the basketball. He's free, foul line extended, and he got the jumper to knock it down right before the buzzer. So Wilson gets the scoring started in this basketball game, and it comes for the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Now Clark-Atlanta in a half-court set. An early foul called here on Orlando Fikes for the Thoroughbreds. That's his first. So Clark-Atlanta would shape it up this way with their offense. Out front is Elijah Stewart. Stewart, the freshman from Chicago, Illinois, at the guard. Also out for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta, Romaine Thomas. We referenced him, the All-SIAC player and Defensive Player of the Year. Inbounding the basketball is Shannon Smith, the senior from New Canaan, Connecticut. He is out on the floor. Tyler Singleton, the all-conference player. He wears number 10 out at the wing and just underway here. And a jumper from outside. Good look there by Smith, but not able to knock it down. So the Thoroughbreds come back the other way. Kevin Hayes inside the paint. He lost the basketball, so now it's back over to Clark-Atlanta. They're trying to push it up the floor. Hayes working left side, just lost the basketball out of hand. So Singleton, the senior from Dallas, Texas, set to inbound the basketball for Clark-Atlanta, and he will give it over to Stewart. Working off of her screen left side. Guillermo setting that screen. And from behind the arc, firing the three-pointer. The shot is off the mark by Stewart. And the Thoroughbreds come back the other way. They lead it 2-0. Out front with the basketball is Good. Now they work it down at the block. A shot inside by Little that's rejected by the Panther defense. CAU pushing it up the floor now. Left side, Stewart to the rack, and he got the lay-in and the whistle coming. So Stewart to the line, shooting as you see the transition basket for Clark-Atlanta. Quick push up the floor. And Stewart, the freshman from Chicago, at 6 feet, going to the line. 76% free throw shooter. And actually they waved that off and said Stewart was guilty of the offensive push off there on the inside. So no basket for Clark-Atlanta. And the basketball over to the Thoroughbreds. Entry pass is anticipated and a whistle on the inside. 3-second violation for Kentucky State gives it back over to Clark-Atlanta now. Andrew Stewart, number 23, just into the ball game for Clark-Atlanta, the freshman from Chicago. Left side with the basketball is Smith. In traffic and the Thoroughbreds take it away. Wilson across the timeline. Right side to Fikes. He'll fire a three-pointer from way out front and missed on the jumper. Clark-Atlanta pushes back. Smith, entry pass, nicely done on the inside to Guillermo, but he's not able to collect on the basket. 17:06 left in this first half of play. Almost gone 3 minutes here, and Clark-Atlanta yet to score. Kentucky State with just one basket, and a travel violation will send it back to the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. First few minutes marked with turnovers for both teams. Clark-Atlanta coming into the ball game averaging 13 turnovers per ball game, and the Thoroughbreds at 18 per contest. Smith, left side pass anticipated and almost stolen away by the Thoroughbreds. Kevin Hayes, the senior, working the sideline defensively. So the Panthers half-court set now. They try to throw it inside with an entry pass, and he tosses it in too far, trying to get it to Thomas at the baseline. So they cough it up, and it goes back over to Central State. Colin Bell, the senior, now out on the floor for Coach George Lynch and the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. New venue for both these teams here at the SIAC tournament in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Tournament action as well, so jitters may be playing a part in this first few minutes of action for both teams. Entry pass, they go down low to Little. Little trying to work it, but he's doubled by that zone defense for Clark-Atlanta. Out front with the three-point shot by Fikes is off the mark. And Clark-Atlanta comes back the other way. Stewart handles out front. Whistles on the entry pass. Foul will be called on Orlando Fikes, the senior for Kentucky State. Non-shooting foul for Clark-Atlanta. On the floor now for the Thoroughbreds, Kevin Price, that is, makes his first appearance in this conference tournament, the junior from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Panthers inbound the basketball, full 20 to shoot, jumper from the outside, and finally they get a basket. It comes from Tyler Singleton, the all-conference player for Clark-Atlanta. Back the other way on the lay-in after the run down the floor is Felix Wilson for the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State, so they answer right back. Game 2 on day 2 of the SIAC tournament. Singleton, another jumper by him, knocks that one down. They'll count the basket, and he will be going to the free throw line. So timeout on the floor with 15:39 left in the first half, and Tyler Singleton doing so well what he did all year long on that play. Finds some space, raises, and just knocks it down for Clark-Atlanta. 15:39 remains. We're tied at 4. He'll be at the free throw line when we return. FloHoops coverage of the 2020 SIAC basketball tournament. Inside the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center. After the timeout, at the line for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta, all-conference player Tyler Singleton to shoot a single free throw. Got a basket from the outside with a jumper. Back-to-back trips down the floor, resulting in him connecting on jump shots. And now he gets the free throw here. So the Panthers claim their first lead of the ball game, 5-4. As the Thoroughbreds come back the other way now. Wilson handles out front. CAU has jumped into an extended 2-3 defense. Down in the left corner with the jumper. Softly done by Little, but he's off the mark. CAU with the basketball. Singleton out front. Now works it left side. At the block they go now. Left-handed floater inside the paint is good for Clark-Atlanta. Whistles on the penetration by Wilson, and they're going to get him for an offensive foul. Substituting Panthers for Clark-Atlanta, they send Justin Longstreet, the junior, out on the floor. He'll replace Colin Bell in their lineup. Half-court set for CAU now with a 7-4 lead. Singleton behind the arc for three. This time he left that one on the cylinder, and the rebound cleared by the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. They try to work it down at the block to get it there to Little. Little got a man down at the baseline trying to get it there, but the pass partially deflected and out of bounds. It'll stay with Kentucky State. Entry pass, Little out behind the arc. Now 12 to shoot. Jumper there by Wharton Price, and Price knocks down the triple for Kentucky State. Ties the basketball game at 7 each with the three-pointer. This is Thomas from outside with a long-range jumper for Clark-Atlanta. Can't connect on it, though. And the basketball over to Kentucky State now with 13:40 left in first half play. Wilson works it left side behind the arc again. Wharton Price, same result. Knocks down on another three. Just about the same spot on the floor that he hit one early on. Make it 10-7 now. After the three-pointer, Thoroughbreds with the lead, and a whistle on the half-court set for Clark-Atlanta. They call a foul on the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. So far out on the far side of the floor, Bell to inbound it for CAU, and whistles as he tries to get the entry pass. Wharton Price guarding too closely on Stewart, so he picks up the foul. Stewart out front now with the basketball. Right side, Singleton, and a whistle there. They call the foul on Longstreet for CAU, pushing off, trying to find some space. So as the turnovers continue, Thoroughbreds have the basketball. Josh Bennett out on the floor now. Jai Bennett out on the floor for the Thoroughbreds. Working inside the paint. Left corner with the three-pointer. Good. Shots not good, though. Rebound to Clark-Atlanta. They go back the other way. Bell up top to Stewart. Stewart to Singleton. Now they work it at the block. And whistles on the penetration there. So the Panthers
at the line, shooting 1-1 with the 25.
Free throw is good Trying to make out the player at the line for Clark-Atlanta. Have their roster here in front of us. They have no 25 listed on the roster. We will get some clarity about the player at our next break as he converts on both free throws. So the lead now for the Thoroughbreds is 10-9 after the 2 free throws by Clark-Atlanta. Kentucky State with the basketball on their end of the floor. Wilson works it down in the corner to Fikes. Now out front, the 3-point offering there by Good. This time he is good. So that was a 3-pointer there to make it 13-9 for the Thoroughbreds. Down at the block, shot off the mark. Thoroughbreds come back the other way after the missed opportunity for CAU. Now, near the foul line, a whistle. And it looks like this is going to go against Kentucky State. Indeed, it will. Timeout on the floor with 11:37 left first half. Thoroughbreds leading at 13-9 over the Panthers, Clark-Atlanta. And you see the tie up there and the foul called out front. Take a break here for SIAC action. Back with more from FloHoops after this timeout. Back on the floor now at the Rock Hill Sports and Event Center. At the line for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta, it's Justin Longstreet, the junior from Ellenwood, Georgia, shooting the free throws. Thoroughbreds, after the free throw attempts by Clark-Atlanta with the basketball on their half of the floor now. Whistles on the penetration. Ball's going to be called on the Thoroughbreds for an illegal screen. They call job. They'll get the Bennett, the sophomore, for the illegal screen for Kentucky State. Singleton now in the half court for Clark-Atlanta. Top of the key over to Longstreet. Now Thomas handles. Running jumper right side. That one's off the mark by Shannon Smith. Half court set. Whistles on the entry pass. Little fighting up on the inside and a whistle there as he goes to the rack, and he will be going to the line. So Bell to shoot to 2. Back out on the floor for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta, it's Colin Bell. Bell, the senior from Los Angeles, California, at 6'10". So that was the player we were trying to identify. Got it from the scorer's table, but it is Bell, number 25. Free throw is good by Kentucky State. And we're back on the other end of the floor. Singleton pushed way down in the corner and steps on the inbound line. So the basketball back over to the Thoroughbreds. It's Jalen Fisher out on the floor now for Coach Jackson and the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. And they go down in the corner and they turn it over on the travel. At the 13-9 mark in terms of the score, the Thoroughbreds were 56% shooting from the floor at 5 of 9. Clark-Atlanta at 27% at 3 of 11. Singleton rattles one good there for Clark-Atlanta. That trip down the floor. Singleton averaging just under 15 points per ball game. Got that basket there. Connected on 2 field goals prior to that one. 10:04 left first half. Thoroughbreds will have the basketball after the kick by Clark-Atlanta. They'll inbound it. Left corner, good. Whistles and a travel violation. Thoroughbreds, 5 turnovers. That's number 6. And the Panthers showing 2 here. That was our latest report at 11:36 remaining. We'll have committed a couple more since then. Give you the update as we get our next report from the scores table. Left side, Singleton looks for space. Now runs him to the top of the key, and we go back the other way with an offensive foul called against Clark-Atlanta. It's like a timeout taken by Coach George Lynch and the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta with 9:50 remaining in the first half, and they trail it 15-11 to the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Time out on the floor. We'll take a break as well here from the 2020 SIAC basketball tournament. More coverage from FloHoops after the break. We're back live inside the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center after the timeout. Thoroughbreds will have the basketball. And Fisher, the freshman from Ypsilanti, Michigan, handles it coming across the timeline. Looking for a screen out front by Little. Sideline foul line extended with the jumper, and Fisher able to knock it down for the Thoroughbreds. Good play after the timeout. They get a basket. They lead it 17-11. CAU half court set now. Thomas circles, trying to get it to Bell in the corner. He'll have to chase it down. Crashes into the Thoroughbred bench. And the basketball over to the Thoroughbreds. 9:24 left first half. And here comes Fisher across the timeline. Tap from behind. Good defensive work there by Smith. But a whistle as they go try to transition back the other way. They call the foul on Fisher for Kentucky State. After the Thoroughbreds had knocked the basketball loose, Fisher commits the foul. That will send Singleton to the line for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta to shoot. Singleton on the regular season, 75% from the free throw line. And he gets the first free throw this trip. Clark-Atlanta will send Andrew Stewart, the freshman, back out on the floor. And Stewart will replace Longstreet in the lineup. Second shot by Singleton from the line is off the mark. 17-12. Thoroughbreds with the lead and basketball. We're at 9 minutes left first half. Fisher behind the arc, looking to the inside. Instead, he'll push it to Bradley Lewis, the junior, and Lewis misses on the three-point shot. And CAU back the other way. Bell pushes across the floor to Stewart, and a whistle. Foul called on Bradley Lewis, the junior from Chicago. As you take a look at Stewart outside. And the foul called on the inside of that play. So on the other end of the floor, Lewis missed on the three-point shot and comes down on the defensive end and commits the foul, which sends Thomas to the line. He got the first. And Thomas misses on the second. Rebound is cleared by Little and the Thoroughbreds. Lewis trying to work inside, had it almost taken away. Two Thoroughbreds collide at the side and they knock it out of bounds. It was Fisher and Good in the same space, and the pass in between the two of them knocked out of bounds. Aaron Howard, the sophomore, also from Ypsilanti, Michigan, out on the floor now for the Thoroughbreds. Clark-Atlanta set the inbound the basketball with 8:29 left, first half of play. Behind the arc, Singleton, right side. Trying to see if they can get Bell free at the block. Jumper in the corner instead. Knocked down. Nicely done by Romaine Thomas, the senior. Thomas, the all-SIAC player, got the space that trip down the floor and knocks down the jumper in the corner. 2-point lead for the Thoroughbreds now. Jumper there in the corner by Little is off the mark. The Panthers with a chance to tie it up with a basket. Stewart up top to Thomas. Head fake by Thomas toward the rack. Left-hand side, missed on the shot. Thoroughbreds pushing back the other way, trying to protect that 2-point lead. Entry pass to Little. Left it in the paint. Turnover to Clark-Atlanta. 3-on-3 basketball now. Left side, converting on the basket is Thomas. Thoroughbreds go quickly back the other way. Fisher with the floater, and he answers right side. So transition baskets for both teams. Singleton out front now for the Panthers. We're at 7:13 left, first half of play. They go with the alley-oop down to Thomas at the block. Head fake, Thomas to the rack with the right-hand floater. Misses on the shot. Howard clears for Kentucky State. Fisher behind the arc pushes a long three, but this one falls short of the mark. As Smith comes back for Clark-Atlanta. Now Singleton. Bell, left post, working on Little. Floating hook by Bell is off the mark. There's a rebound and a reverse put back on the inside. That's nicely done by Andrew Stewart, the freshman. So Stewart's basket ties the ball game up with 6:30 left first half. Good work under the basket by Stewart. Now back the other way. Little's got the flush, courtesy of the nice no-look pass from Aaron Howard. Kentucky State takes the 2-point lead after the basket. Left side, Smith in the corner. Stewart missed on the 3-point shot. Bell collects the rebound, took his eye off it, and it bounces on the end line and goes over to the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Timeout on the floor with 6 minutes remaining in the ball game. The lead for the Thoroughbreds is 2 points, 21-19 over the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. Take another break here. More basketball action from the SIAC tournament after this timeout. Back live inside the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center in Rock Hill, South Carolina. The Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State with a 2-point lead over Clark-Atlanta. Let's take a look at the Thoroughbred cheerleaders here inside the pavilion. Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State eliminated from the tournament on yesterday. The men hoping to continue in the quarterfinal play. Standing in their way right now, the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. At the timeout, Thoroughbreds shooting 57% from the floor at 8 of 14. Panthers at 7 of 20. Thoroughbreds half-court set. Howard works it left side. Trying to get it down at the block to Little if they can. They go inside the paint instead. A running shot right side is off the mark by Good, but the baskets follow up by Little for the Thoroughbreds. So Little working hard inside the paint. The senior at 6'8" from Jersey City, New Jersey. Thomas to the rack right side. Contact there inside the paint. And that's going to be an offensive foul against Romaine Thomas for Clark-Atlanta. 23-19 lead for the Thoroughbreds. They have the basketball after the offensive foul by Thomas. He will be replaced in the lineup by Malik Williams after committing that foul. Wilson across the timeline for the Thoroughbreds. Now works it, the left block down to Good. Whistles bumping there between Good and Smith, and the last bump credited against Good was caught by the officials. You can see them kind of bumping and grinding there, trying to get that position. And that one last little elbow was the difference between Good being called on any of the 2 previous contacts in that last one. Put that elbow up kind of to the chest area of Smith, and they caught him for that. 5:07 remains first half. Shannon Smith, the senior, across the timeline for CAU. Over to Singleton. Now Stewart pops out. And Williams takes a turn. Singleton hard push to the basket left side, missed on the bank shot, but he will be going to the line for Clark-Atlanta. Singleton to shoot. Got 8 points in the ball game thus far. 2 of 3 from the line. Left the first free throw short. Clark-Atlanta 5 of 8 from the free throw line at 63%. That's prior to that missed free throw by Singleton. One more coming. And the spinner pops out for Singleton and the Panthers. So they come away with nothing on that free throw attempt. And it remains 23-19. Thoroughbreds with the lead. A correction now. It looks like Panthers are going to have the basketball. And repay the Thoroughbreds at the baseline, touching it last. So Panthers half-court set with Smith handling out front. Dump low. Nicely done, and a whistle and a travel violation. Javonte Sterling just under the floor for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. A little bit rusty there. The pass was clear, but he stepped on the inbound line as it bobbled the basketball. So Thoroughbreds now with it on their half of the floor. Down at the block. Nice turn there. Eddie Johnson Clayton, the graduate student at 6'6", gets his first points of the ball game, having just been inserted in the lineup. Panthers back the other way. Smith from behind the arc, rattles and he misses. Singleton got the rebound, challenges inside, but the shot partially deflected. Now back on the putback for the Panthers is Javonte Sterling. So Sterling working hard at the baseline, gets credit for it by getting that rebound and the putback. 3:59 left first half. Wilson works across the timeline. They work it down at the block immediately to Little. And a foul called out front. I think they're going to call a foul on Little on the inside, fighting for position. They do credit him with the foul. It comes with 3:51 remaining in the first half, and a timeout taken on the floor, with the Thoroughbreds leading at 25-21 over the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. Another timeout will step out as well. 2020 SIAC basketball tournament action live on FloHoops continues after the break. Back live inside the Rock Hill Sports and Event Center. Panthers in a half-court set with 3:33 remaining first half. Down at the block, left side, fighting all the way through is Sterling. And Sterling with back-to-back baskets for the Panthers with some deep work in the baseline and able to get that basket. 25-23 lead for the Thoroughbreds. Half-court set for them. Howard ranges left side, and Howard scores for Kentucky State. 27-23. First points of the ball game for Howard. Sterling, foul line extended, jumps into the defense, and he drew the foul. Look at Sterling working there near the foul line. The head fake got the defense up in the air, and he did a great thing by leaning into it. Foul committed by Wharton Price. And still able to try to continue on that. Did not make the shot, but played that perfectly. Got the first free throw for the Panthers. Jalen Fisher back out for Coach Jackson and the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. With Stewart facing the second of 2 free throws, making the first. Remember, on the second falls out as Little clears the rebound for the Thoroughbreds. We're at 2:50 left first half. Fisher works it foul line extended with the jumper rattled and misses. Rebound comes away to Singleton. Top of the key. Smith in traffic and he throws it away. Ninth turnover for Clark-Atlanta. Missed opportunity on the inside by Howard, but another look by the Thoroughbreds, not able to collect that one as well. And finally, Colin Bell clears for the Panthers. Across the floor, Smith from behind the arc. Spinner falls out of there for him. Had a good look, just wouldn't stay down. We approach 2 minutes left in this first half. As Wilson working down at the block now to Little. Little left it short on the cylinder. Got his own rebound, works inside for the putback. Got the basket and he draws a foul. So Little with that basket, nicely done on the inside. Bell had a chance at that rebound, missed it. And the ensuing rebound by Little in the putback, he got that, and you can see Bell coming over to the top with the foul. So 3-point play there by virtue of the work of Jordan Little on the inside for the Thoroughbreds. They build a 30-24 lead as we go down to 1:48 left first half of play. Singleton works it right side all the way to the rack, got a lane, and he got the lay-in. Singleton with 10 in this first half. To the rack, right side, and a whistle as Fisher challenges. Foul called. On Stewart for the Panthers. Singleton with that crease on that lay-in, and as you take a look at the Thoroughbreds coming back the other way, foul was called on Stewart. Had his arm out there, may have gotten into the stomach area of Fisher on the penetration, and they caught him for it, so Fisher to the line shooting. Fisher got one of the two, make it 31-26. Smith out front. Now over to Sterling. Jumper left side, that one's off the mark. But there for the putback is Bell with his first points of the ball game. (31-28), less than a minute left first half. Jumper from outside, nicely done and canned by Eddie Johnson Clayton. At 6'6", 225. Johnson Clayton showing range. Stewart handles for Clark-Atlanta. Pushes across the floor to Singleton. Singleton inside the paint with the jumper. Oh, yeah. Got the space, actually created that space with a hard move to push the defense. 23 seconds left first half. 34-30 lead for the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State over Clark-Atlanta. Some of the action from the floor there. You see that three-point shot by Johnson Clayton and the work of the Panthers in this half-court set. Watch that hard move. That's what created the space for Singleton, pushing the defense back. He's able to elevate and knocks down the jumper for the Panthers of CAU. Winner of this ball game advancing to quarterfinal play on Thursday. The winner will meet the Thoroughbreds, the Marauders of Central State, who defeated the Wildcats of Fort Valley in the first ball game of today. Won that ball game 87-79. So the Marauders, they're sitting for the Thursday contest. Some of them sitting here inside the pavilion to watch these two teams to determine who they will be playing on Thursday. We're in the first half of the second game on day 2. 4 more games to follow here on FloHoops. Fisher out front with 11 in the first half. jumper outside and knocked down by Wharton Price. He had a good look and put it down. 2 seconds to shoot to the cylinder with the shot, and that one's off the mark by Elijah Stewart. So a 3-point bucket right at the end of the half extends the Thoroughbred lead to 37-30. And pure look there by Wharton Price, and he rings it true for the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. That's where we stand at the break. Thoroughbreds with a 37-30 lead. Take a time out here. More basketball from the 2020 SIAC basketball tournament on FloHoops.
Coaches or their representatives will not be tolerated, and are grounds for removal from the site of competition. Retool your school.
Back live inside the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Day 2 of the SIAC basketball tournament. Second game of day 2 activity. It's the men side of it with the Thoroughbreds, or the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta, and the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State at the intermission. It's the Thoroughbreds with a 37-30 lead over Clark-Atlanta. In the first half for the Thoroughbreds, that they did an outstanding job shooting from the floor is one of the reasons that they have that 7-point lead going into the break. Shot 56% from the floor, the Thoroughbreds did in that first half, going 14 of 25 in shooting from the floor. Panthers of Clark-Atlanta, not bad at 12 and 30, 40%. Trying to keep pace with that Thoroughbred team that was just so hot from the floor. A lot of their action going inside with Jordan Little, baskets on the inside, but they also work the perimeter well in terms of their shooting from behind the arc. Thoroughbreds in that first half, look at that stat on your screen, at 65% shooting, at 5 of 8 shooting from behind the arc. That's the real difference as to why they have the 7-point lead. They have the 7 rebounding edge as it relates to rebounds, and they lead the Panthers in assists as well with 6 compared to 4 for CAU. First half leaders as it relates to scoring for the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Jordan Little led them in scoring with 9 points. Also had 4 rebounds in that first half of play. No player for the Thoroughbreds in double figures, and that is exactly what we alluded to at the beginning of this broadcast, that this is a team not characterized by one star player. It's a contribution effort of everybody that's on that roster. Little with 9 in that first half, and Wharton Price coming off the bench. He had 9 as well, and a couple of other players with 4 and 5 points. For the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta, they were led by Tyler Singleton. They're all SIAC players. Singleton with 12 points in that first half, along with 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and he had 1 steal as well. Panthers with a lot of work to do, though, because they have got to find a way to shut down that offense of the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. When a team is shooting as hot as they are, you can certainly hope that that doesn't continue in the second half of play. But you also have to try to make some adjustments in the second half to see if you can contend with that team as well. 20 minutes of basketball for these two teams to determine which will advance to quarterfinal play on Thursday. Both trying to avenge their finish last season as it relates to tournament play, each eliminated in the first round. Right now, Thoroughbreds with a 37-30 lead. Take a quick break and get you started here with second half action live from the 2020 SIAC basketball tournament on FloHoops. Back live in the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center in Rock Hill, South Carolina, new home of the SIAC basketball tournament. After the intermission, the Panthers will have the basketball. They come onto the floor, trailing at 37-30 to the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Across the floor, Tyler Singleton inbound it. Shannon Smith will have it in the backcourt for CAU. Works it left side. Now Thomas pops out to handle. Singleton over to Williams. A correction. That is Williams on the floor, Malik Williams there, and they give it inside to Thomas. Down in the corner, Smith free with the jumper, can't get it to fall. So the Thoroughbreds come back the other way. Panthers, 12 of 13 shooting in the first half, and a turnover there. A correction foul going to be called there, offensive foul. They call the offensive foul on Kevin Hayes, the senior from Detroit. Panthers half-court set. Williams left it inside for Bell. Bell missed on the shot. Rebound cleared by the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Behind the arc, hoisting a three. That's good, but he can't connect on the shot. Smith back the other way to Williams. Malik Williams works behind the arc. Now over to Thomas. Bell looking for some space down at the block. They go to Smith instead, and he's roughed up out front. Travel violation call on Shannon Smith. .18:40 left in the ball game. Turnover there by the Panthers. At the break, Thoroughbreds had 14 turnovers, and Clark-Atlanta with 9. Had a couple since we started play here early in the second half. Felix Wilson handling the basketball for the Thoroughbreds on their half-court set. Good. Back to Wilson. Now at the block they go to Little. Little turns on Bell with the jumper, and they left it short. Rebound to Thomas for CAU. To Smith. Now Singleton got some space, left side, drew the foul. Good was guarding closely. Singleton got enough space to get the shot airborne, and the foul committed by Good. Good. That is his third. And a shooting foul will send Singleton to the line. And Good also assessed the technical as well after the foul on Tyler Singleton. So Romaine Thomas to shoot the technical foul for Clark-Atlanta. And Thomas can't convert on the first. He'll have one more here on the technical. So Good, not so good on that infraction with the technical, as Thomas cannot convert on either of those. Now Singleton, who was fouled, will go to the line to shoot. Singleton 12 points at the break, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Shooting 2 here. Second of 6 ball games on tap today at FloHoops of the SIAC tournament, as Singleton converts on the first of 2. We go to women's action next on the schedule. It'll be the Tigerettes of Tuskegee and the Lady Rams of Albany State here inside the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center. Half court set after the free throws by Singleton. They get the basketball after that assessment. Smith on the weave. Singleton's free from outside, but shot an air ball. Good contest there by Jordan Little to get that hand up and making Singleton change his shot a bit. This is Fikes with the basketball for the Thoroughbreds down at the block to Jordan Little. Right-handed hook shot by, a floating shot by Little is good. So Little now in double digits with 11. Singleton behind the arc for the Panthers. On the turn, this is Malik Williams. Shot is off the mark, and we've got a whistle inside. Foul's going to be called on Colin Bell. So Bell with that foul departs the basketball game. And Javante Sterling out on the floor now for Coach George Lynch and the Panthers. Certainly recognize that name. George Lynch is the head coach of Clark-Atlanta, second year at CAU. We'll probably know him more so for his 12 years as an NBA veteran. Underneath the basket, Little got the space, missed on the shot, but he's fouled. He'll go to the line as Sterling was trying to catch up with that play at the block. Good move by Little. Nice spin there at the baseline. Beat the defense. And Sterling commits the foul. Lynch talking about him, his first round draft pick by the Los Angeles Lakers in 1993. And his first year, rookie season since Magic, first year rookie at Los Angeles since Magic Johnson has scored 30 points in a game. Also had a stellar NC2A career before getting into the coaching ranks. And now at Clark-Atlanta, there Thomas with a putback for the Panthers with the flush on the inside. 16:50 left in the ball game, 40-33 Thoroughbreds with the lead. Thomas trying to spark that Panther team, see if that dunk on the inside does so. At the block they go to Little, Thoroughbreds do. Little working on Thomas at the baseline. Thomas fell down trying to draw a foul there. Little able to convert on the end. Singleton spins one from the left side on the lay-in, and that makes it a 42-35 lead. 16:20 left in the ball game. Singleton, quite a scorer for the Panthers of CAU. Fikes works top of the key for the Thoroughbreds. Now at the block they go to Little. He tries to back Thomas in, but the basketball is tapped back out to Fikes. They go right back inside to Little, 7 to shoot. Now out front, running jumper there by Fikes. It's off the mark. Nothing but gray jerseys there for Clark-Atlanta as Williams comes back the other way for CAU. Smith circles, now cross dribble to the left. Left it behind for Sterling, and Sterling with the floater from about 5 feet away knocks it down. 42-37 now after the basket by Sterling. Across the timeline with the basketball is Orlando Fikes for the Thoroughbreds. Right corner on the move is Howard. Howard to the rack, can't get it to fall, and the basketball over to Clark-Atlanta. Timeout on the floor now. 15-15 remains after the missed shot by Howard. Had the quick step there at the baseline, but just not able to finish as the Thoroughbreds knock it out of bounds. They lead it, though, 42-37 over the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. More basketball action coming your way live on FloHoops. Back live at the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center after the timeout. 42-37 Thoroughbreds with the lead. Clark-Atlanta with the basketball. They try to dump it down low to Thomas, and they turn it over. Turnover number 11 for CAU. And the basketball going back over to Kentucky State. So the Thoroughbreds with it. Before the timeout, still shooting an impressive field goal percentage at 16 of 31 or 52%. Clark-Atlanta dipping a bit at 15 of 39 at 38%. Basketball tapped out of bounds. It'll stay with the Thoroughbreds. Thoroughbreds with the 23-20 rebounding edge. 15 turnovers for Kentucky State, 10 for Clark-Atlanta. From behind the arc, Thoroughbreds at 50%, 5 of 10, and CAU yet to convert on a three-point shot, 0 of 10. Down low, Little at the block, got the basket. And Little down after he got that basket. Not sure what happened to him after he got the space and got the lay-in. Take a look on the replay here. Backing in there for the position. Spotted up real well. I think he stepped on the shoe of the defender, Justin Longstreet. Able to get up and go toward the sideline. But as you take a look at it, you can see when he comes down on that right foot, he comes right down on the foot of Longstreet. So the Panthers back on their end of the floor. See if we can get an update on his position, or hopefully he returns to this basketball game. Foul called inside on Aaron Howard, the sophomore. Looking at the Kentucky State bench with another whistle on the floor. Jordan Little, that is tightening up that right lace on his shoe. And it looks like he's going to be okay. He may try to go get it taped, but he was ready to come back into the basketball game, but they're going to hold him out for just a little bit longer. Singleton up top to Longstreet. Now Smith handles. Longstreet from outside missed on the three-point attempt. Thoroughbreds back the other way. Behind the arc, raising for the jumper. That one's going to be short by Wharton's Price. So CAU back the other way now. Singleton backpedals near the mid-stripe. And he'll work it right side. Try to give to Thomas, but threw it right over to Howard for the Thoroughbreds. And Howard slices the paint and lays it in right side. That'll force a timeout by the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. Thoroughbreds take their lead to 46-37. Let's take a look at this nice move here by Howard on the spin as he got the lay-in after the good defensive work. Just left Thomas in his tracks there. Only man to defend him one-on-one, and Howard spins out of that defense. Timeout on the floor, 46-37. Thoroughbreds lead. Back with more from the tournament after this timeout. Welcome back to the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center, live in Rock Hill, South Carolina. 2020 SIAC basketball tournament, live on day 2. Second game of action on this day 2 of the tournament. Panthers of Clark-Atlanta and the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Panthers at 3-2 in the East as Singleton misses a jumper in the corner for CAU. The Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State 7th in the West. And challenging on the inside there. Basket there by Jalen Fisher, the freshman, challenging right side. Thoroughbreds 7th in the West coming into the tournament. Right now, they are leading at 48-37. Singleton with a whistle. They call a foul on the sophomore, Ja Bennett, for the Thoroughbreds. So that'll put Williams right of the cylinder to inbound it for CAU. Got it to Singleton, free for the jumper, can't convert. Basketball tapped around. Panthers going to have another look at this one. Shot in the right corner. That one's going to be short, but a whistle there as Longstreet tried to put the jumper up and was fouled. That foul going against Wharton Price for the Thoroughbreds, and that will send Longstreet, the junior, to the line for Clark-Atlanta. Longstreet scoreless in the ball game at this point, gets his first by hitting that first free throw. Second free throw on the way and good by Longstreet as well. (48-39). Thoroughbreds with the lead and basketball. Fisher changes the shot, works it in the corner to Howard. Howard to the rack. Contact on the inside, and he created it, and he'll be charged with the foul as Romaine Thomas, the defensive player of the year for the SIAC, shows exactly why. Watch him as he stands his ground on the defensive end of the floor for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. So we'll go back the other way now. Williams out front. Thomas, long three-point shot, missed on it. Basketball is chased and stored inside the paint for Clark-Atlanta. And I call that foul on Stewart for the Panthers of CAU. So the Thoroughbreds will have the basketball. Fisher in the backcourt. Stewart guarding. He just committed the last foul. Fisher to Little. This time Little way away from the basket. And whistles as we go back the other way. Foul was called. This one going against the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. I think it was called on Eddie Johnson Clayton. We'll get clarity on it in this timeout. It comes with 11:54, and the timeout comes with the Thoroughbreds leading at 48-39. More basketball action coming your way on FloHoops after this timeout. $11:54 remains in this contest between the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State and the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. Thoroughbreds with a 48-39 lead. They just committed the foul, so the Panthers will have the basketball. Andrew Stewart, the freshman, handles for CAU out front. Across the floor now to Sterling. Screen by Thomas. That frees Stewart with the jumper, but he misses on it. And the Thoroughbreds come back the other way. Fisher at the block. Little working on Thomas. Lost the basketball momentarily. To see him back out on the floor after he stepped on the shoe of one of the defenders for Clark-Atlanta and then strained his right foot. Here, Little showing ill effects of that, works the baseline and draws a foul. Thoroughbreds at 54% shooting from the floor, 19 of 34. Continuing to be impressive in that area. Colin Bell inside the paint, right-hand floater is off the mark. Thoroughbreds trying to push the basketball now. Clark-Atlanta at 34% shooting from the field, 15 of 44. Fisher out front for three. Long three-point shot by him's off the mark. Thomas clears that rebound for Clark-Atlanta. That's his 7th rebound of the ball game. Left side, Singleton's free jumper in the cylinder and pops out of there. But there is Thomas with the left-handed putback for the basket. 7-point lead for Kentucky State. We're at 10:20 remaining in the ball game. Winner advancing to quarterfinal play in the SIAC tournament. Fisher behind the arc right side. Now on the move, left baseline, inside the paint. Hayes just falls down on the paint, no foul called there, but back the other way, we will have a blocking foul called at the baseline. It was Longstreet on the penetration. And the foul was called on Jalen Fisher for the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. So Longstreet at the line to shoot. Longstreet connects on the first free throw. Take a look at the contact there as the Euro step was trying to be applied by Longstreet, but he was fouled in the process. Second free throw spins around and falls good for him to make it 48-43 to lead down to 5 for Kentucky State. Fisher out front, works it right side to Hayes. Now they try to push it across the floor and they throw the basketball out of bounds. That's turnover number 18 for the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. 9:38 remaining in the ball game. Panthers will have the basketball back. Chance to cut into that lead. Thomas up top. Back to Singleton. He'll get a screen from Bell. Give and go to Bell on the inside. Shot fell off. And he was fouled. Bell to the line to shoot. See Bell inside the paint. That is, Wade was blocked there on the inside by Orlando Fikes. So Bell shooting here. First free throw, he leaves short. Grant Good back out on the floor for the Thoroughbreds. He'll replace Felix Wilson in their lineup. And Bell with one more coming at the free throw line for CAU. He goes 1 of 2 as he collects the second. 48-44 now. Panthers inching closer and closer. Thoroughbreds now. Half-court set. Little, right side, gives it over to Good, and Good knocks down the basket for the Thoroughbreds. So Good, his 5th point of the ball game. Thomas penetrates left side and drew an early whistle. Ball called on Good, trying to defend. So Thomas will be at the line for Clark-Atlanta shooting. Good with the foul takes the seat. Thomas fouled to shoot now. 8:55 left. Thomas good on the first free throw. The lead is 5 for the Thoroughbreds. Thomas good for both free throws. The senior from the Bronx, New York, showing good form on the free throw shooting. 50-46. Thoroughbreds lead and have the basketball. There's Fisher out front. He'll work it left side to Wharton Price. Now down at the block, Little. Little spins on Bell, draws the double from Thomas. And now they give it over to Hayes. Out front pushing the three and knocking down the three is Orlando Fikes. Big basket by Fikes. Out front, it's Singleton for the Panthers. It'll be a 2-point basket for Singleton. Fisher quickly back the other way from Kentucky State. Challenges right side. Bell made him force that shot a bit higher than he wanted. He'll come away with the rebound, and Panthers going back the other way. At the block left side, shot fell off for Stewart, and we have a whistle on the inside. Foul will be called on Kevin Hayes, the senior. So that'll send him to the bench with his 4th at 8 minutes left. Timeout on the floor. When we return, it'll be Andrew Stewart at the line. As you can see how this foul was created. Working it left side is Stewart, and coming across trying to swipe that basketball was Hayes. So that'll send Stewart to the line when we come back after the break. 2020 SIAC basketball continues on the FloHoops after the timeout. Back live here at the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center. At the line for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta is Andrew Stewart, the freshman, shooting free throws. Misses on the first. Clark-Atlanta from the free throw line in this basketball game at only 58%, 14 of 24. Leaving more than enough points at the line to have overcome the Thoroughbreds on the scoreboard, as Stewart misses the second as well. Fisher across the timeline. Works it to Fikes. Now they give it up top to Howard. Across the floor to Wharton Price. Now down low, Little with the jumper inside the paint. He missed. Thomas taps it. Rebound will be credited to Justin Longstreet. Back the other way comes Singleton. Pushes it Left corner for three, Longstreet, and he knocks it down for the Panthers. So make it 53-51 after the basket in the corner. Penetrating right side, Fisher to the glass, missed on that shot. Bell and Thomas contend for the rebound, and Thomas will pick it up off the canvas, going back the other way with the Panthers having a chance to tie this game up with a basket here. Singleton losing it momentarily, regains. Seven to shoot now. Singleton with the left hand, and he got the lay-in left side for the Panthers. He ties the ball game up at 53 each. Fisher out front now for the Thoroughbreds. Panthers guarding tightly. They get a steal there. And they say that Longstreet, after he got the steal, bounced it on the inbound line, so it'll stay with the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. 6:22 remains. Teams tied at 53. Has been a struggle for Clark-Atlanta to stay in this basketball game, but they have done so. And now tied at 53. Head fake, Howard with the jumper, missed on it. Backside rebound comes to Stewart. Panthers with a chance to reclaim a lead with a basket this trip down the floor. Stewart head fakes with the jumper, missed on the shot, but there Thomas with the follow and a whistle. Not able to convert on the putback, but he's fouled, he's shooting. So Howard picks up the foul, and that is his fifth. So he fouls out of the ball game with over 6 minutes remaining. And that's going to be a big deficit for the Thoroughbreds to make up. Howard with a good ball game for them in this tournament contest. Howard with 4 points in the contest. 1 assist, 2 steals with 1 rebound, but he made some key plays where they absolutely had to have them. So he departs tournament play. Only can hope now that his Thoroughbreds are able to reclaim a lead and carry them into the next round. Thomas rattles the second free throw. He got that one to fall, and Clark-Atlanta claims a 1-point lead, 54-53. Whistles in a half-court set. They get the foul call on Singleton for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. This is Wilson out front. Works off of a pick. Now swings it down in the corner. Over to Johnson Clayton. Can't find anything for to shoot now. Out front, Wilson. Long three-point shot is off the mark. Rebound to Bell in Clark-Atlanta. Now Singleton works at front court. He's free behind the arc. They're going to let him have it from that distance. On the weave. Longstreet handles now over to Thomas. He's behind the arc. Hoists the three-pointer and knocks it down for CAU. Romaine Thomas, the senior. A big three-point bucket there for Clark-Atlanta. Gives them a three-point edge. Thomas showing the range out front. The officials conferring now. Not quite sure. Looks like they may have only given him 2 on that. We'll check and see. I think it was a three-point shot for sure. Only gave him 2 on it. So make it 56-53. Missed shot there by the Thoroughbreds on the inside. And the Panthers come back the other way. It was definitely a two-pointer there for the Panthers on the shot by Thomas up top. .439 remains. Looks like we got a stoppage in play. Got a timeout on the floor. You see the officials conferring there about that. Now we take a look at it. Looks like he is within inside that black line, which is the one that's farthest away from the basket. You need to be beyond that to give credit for the three. So picking it up on the camera work, and director James Crenshaw right on top of it to clear things up in a visual way. So only 2 on the basket by Thomas, but it still gives the Panthers a 56-53 lead. They will have the basketball as play resumes. Singleton set to inbound it. Out front to Stewart. Now Thomas left flank. Screens up top on the weave at Stewart. Stewart back up top to Thomas. Play clock already down to 7. Thomas going to fire another three-pointer. This one creases the rim and knocked out of bounds by Singleton. It'll go over to the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Thomas there not able to square up as much as he did on the previous 2-point basket. The Thoroughbreds coming back the other way now. Little at the block. Pushes back out front. Jumper there by Johnson Clayton is off the mark, and CAU coming back the other way, trying to build on that 56-53 lead. Left side Singleton behind the arc. Looks for the screen by Bell. Now Bell free. Singleton slides to the corner and nails a jumper there for Clark-Atlanta. So Singleton up to 19 points in the ball game. Wilson out front for the Thoroughbreds. Now over to Hayes. Out front with the jumper, has to change it. That is Wharton Price. Now the Thoroughbreds throw it away. Singleton to Andrews. And Stewart going to be guilty of the travel violation. They had 2-on-1 basketball. Singleton gave it up early to Stewart in the transition. And probably as he comes to the sideline, George Lynch will tell him, hey, you're the shooter. Take the shot. Timeout on the floor with 3:17 remaining. And the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta now leading 58-53 over the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Take a time out here. FloHoops coverage of the tournament continues after this break. Back live at the Rock Hill Sports and Event Center here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. 3:17 left in this men's contest. Opening round action for the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta and the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Panthers with a 58-53 lead, trailed most of this basketball game. Able to claim the lead late in this second half. And the Thoroughbreds playing catch-up for one of the few times in this ball game. Little bumping Bell at the base, turns with the jumper, missed it backside. Longstreet saying that he didn't touch it. The officials don't think that, they don't agree with what he said. They're going to give the basketball over to the Thoroughbreds. Longstreet down at the baseline saying he didn't touch the basketball at all. So now behind the arc, right side, Johnson Clayton misses on the jump shot. Colin Bell clears for Clark-Atlanta. And the basketball in the hands of Stewart as he comes across the timeline as we go down to 2:40 left. Bell away from the basket. Gives it to Longstreet. Clark-Atlanta trying to size up the opportunity here to get a basket to extend their lead. 7 to shoot now. They get it in the hands of Singleton with the jumper, and he nails it for the Panthers. Just so calm on his approach to getting that basketball airborne, knocked down the jumper there. 60-53 now. Clark-Atlanta with the lead. Left post, Little working on Bell. They bump and grind there. Bell with the short jumper, left it short. Little missed on that jumper, and Bell clears the rebound. We go to 2 minutes left in the ball game. Stewart comes across the timeline for CAU. Lost it, double over to Singleton. 7 to shoot. They try to go down at the post. Thomas left side. He'll spin, turns with the jumper. Rattled it and fell good for Thomas and the Panthers. That's another big basket for CAU with 1:37 left. And that will force the hand of Coach Jamal Jackson to take a timeout here. 2 big baskets, successive trips down the floor for Clark-Atlanta. They lead at 62-53. Good work at the baseline there by Thomas as they fed him in the corner. Panthers with the lead. Tap out for the timeout. Back with the conclusion of this ball game on Flo Hoops. Tides have turned pretty drastically for the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. They were in the lead for most of this basketball game, but they find themselves trailing now 62-53 with 1:30 left in the contest. Out front, this is Fikes with the basketball. Now across the floor he goes. Wilson tries to work his way in. Little, right corner, got a jumper. Nice spacing there, and he knocks it down. Panthers back the other way now. Thoroughbreds at some point going to be forced to start fouling here. 1:04 left. On the weave, Longstreet handles out front. And try to see if they can't get a turnover before they take a foul. Out front, Wharton Price commits the foul. Those instructions by Jamal Jackson. They wanted to see if there's a possibility of taking the basketball away without having the foul and send the Panthers to the line. Didn't work that trip, so Thomas to the line shooting for CAU. Thomas good on the first free throw. Lead for the Panthers inching closer to 10, double digit. Clutch free throw shooting by the senior. The lead is 9 for Clark-Atlanta now. Up top with the jumper out front, that's Wilson. He misses there. Bell clears. And Thomas took a shot to his right forearm. Bell got that rebound. And trying to stick his arm out to defend against Fikes trying to come in to steal the basketball. And Fikes able to disrupt Thomas, and the Thoroughbreds with the basketball with 40 seconds remaining. On the weave. They try to work it down low inside, and they turn it over. Stewart with the basketball for Clark-Atlanta. And that's likely going to seal the fate here for the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State, who shot the ball phenomenally well from the floor. As Stewart has it taken away by the Thoroughbreds. They go back the other way, and they turn the basketball over. So that last turnover will certainly seal the fate for the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. And it's going to be the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta coming off the deck to win it 64-55 against the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. So you can ink in the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta into quarterfinal play on Thursday. They will meet the Marauders of Central State University in quarterfinal action at 5 p.m. or 3:15 p.m. on Thursday here at the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center in quarterfinal play. So hats off to Coach George Lynch and the Panthers of Clark-Atlanta. Trailed for most of that ball game, but got things together late in the second half. Took a lead with less than 5 minutes in the ball game, and able to reign the day there with the win over the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Final score once again in this men's contest. Panthers win at 64-55 over the Thoroughbreds of Kentucky State. Women's action coming your way next here from the tournament. It will feature the Tigerettes of Tuskegee, the number 3 team out of the West, and the number 6 team out of the East, the Lady Rams of Albany State. That action coming to you next here on Flo Hoops. Stay with us for our live coverage. His 4th. So out of the 7 that they have, 3 belong to him already. Nothing else to be said. To get to center court and get this